Back to say the mudgar, I mean this is very, very similar really to a meal, and it's swung in a very similar sort of way.
Yeah.
But technically, in my opinion, this should be called an English club, not an Indian club. As women became more freer and movement-wise, they were encouraged to swing clubs. In those days, women still wore very tight corsets. And the mudgar and the jori and the meal are sort of the grandparents of Indian clubs.
This one,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
You won't see this in Persia.
The flowing Dutchman, yeah. Shuffle on the production, like this, yeah, like this, yeah. The flowing Dutchman, yeah, the flowing Dutchman.
Boom, and welcome to another video of the Flowing Dutchman. And look where I am. I'm here with the one and only master, Paul Wolkowinski.
Hello there.
So Paul, I've got another question, because your company is Indian Clubs, right?
Yeah.
Indian Clubs.
Well, I mean, the website's indianclubs.com.au, but I mean,
Right.
I don't actually have a company. It's just I
Okay.
just call myself Indian Clubs. Yeah.
Indian Clubs.
For all intents
And so where does that word come from? What is like because it seems to be a name that wasn't given by the Indian people themselves, right?
No, it's not. No,
That would be a little bit.
As people were demobbed during the Raj, and then they went back to England and they went back to Germany, because there were Germans involved. Demobbed. That means they exit the army. Demob is exiting the army. They took clubs back to Europe.
Right.
And
this was around what time period?
1830s, 1840s. The beginnings of it were. It became really big around about the 1850s, 1860s.
Right.
Kehoe, who made these clubs here, his first book was 1866.
1866.
Yeah, and this is the club, basically the shape of the club that's featured in his book.
So I've never seen the small clubs. Maybe one pair, but you won't find the smaller ones in India.
No.
Is that so? What is there? So around 1840, when they were demobbed, they brought bigger clubs back home, or like similar to?
No, they would have. From what I can work out is that this is considered a military club.
Right.
So there's no fancy treatment on it. The weight is quite a long way down towards the end of the club.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I know about this is a military club that was used by the English Army and Navy to train the soldiers.
And was it inspired by the clubs
By the jori and mace, to my way of thinking.
and the mudgar maybe?
And the mudgar, yeah, I think the mudgar had a lot to do
Yeah.
with it. But I mean, this is, if you think about it, this is almost getting too long.
Right.
So it was shortened and made fatter. But technically, in my opinion, this should be called an English club, not an Indian club.
Yeah.
Because it was the English who really sort of went to town on it and created the shape was created, to become this, and then there were variations on it.
And this one eventually turned out into the smaller ones we see.
Yeah, no. Well, the thing is, I mean, okay. So Kehoe, just take your camera up here. This is Professor Harrison. Here, which is a drawing made from another drawing by a good friend of mine, Chris Denning in Canada.
Mm.
And now you can see he's got huge Persian style clubs there.
Yeah.
And he was very famous, and he was an English strongman that used to swing those, and he swung them for the royalty and and so on, and displays in England. Now, Kehoe was an American who went to the UK, saw this, came up with this. But at the same time, England had these in. So the military were using them. But basically, the ones that were the most prominent mid-1800s were these sort of, the meal shapes. The meal shapes.
Also in India.
And also in India. And I mean, we don't know where. I mean, because looking at those, they look like meals to me because they come waist high.
Right.
If there were jori, they'd be a lot. In proportion, they would be higher.
Sure.
Body-wise, so it's an interesting sort of. It's as you say. I mean, it's very hard to tell where it originated from because it's such a mix of cultures and everything along there.
But there's a big history of these clubs being used in the West.
Yes.
So it was brought to England around from the 1840s, 1850s, 1860s.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, just to sort of give you another example, these clubs are called scepters.
Scepters.
These were kind of, from what I understand, they were created to get basically, as women became more freer and movement-wise, they were encouraged to swing clubs. In those days, women still wore very tight corsets.
Right.
And very restrictive movement. It wasn't, and they were basically encouraged. And one of the first exercises that was done with these was like this, literally turning them that way, that way, that way, that way. And then I would imagine that circles like these would have come into being at one stage, and then the clubs would have made this type of movement. These clubs were very, very popular to teach children to swing Indian clubs, and were very often used in schools, going now much later, sort of, towards the end of the 1500s. Sorry, 1800s, pardon me. And yeah, this is like a mace if you think about it.
Yeah, it is. I love it.
Yeah. So they almost swing on their own.
I love that.
Yeah. And the button makes them very sort of comfortable to swing. These clubs here are calisthenic clubs.
Calisthenic.
Yeah, they were used especially in Russia. Calisthenics were huge, and the girls would do all sorts of somersaults with them, mainly women. All sorts of, and like you see sometimes in the Olympics with ribbons at the end of clubs. This is what these were for.
Right.
So it's a very, very lightweight club, but I mean, it's still got that little bit of weight at the end.
Yeah.
You've still got that sort of.
Oh, that's very light, indeed.
Yeah, but it still has, you can still manipulate it, and as far as movement of your mobility wise, it's great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, move your arms more. That's it.
Yeah.
In your mind, would you call these then Indian clubs?
Yes. No, I would call them Indian clubs.
So, but there's like there's a transition where Indian clubs become mules or mudgars, or would you say that Indian clubs, the mudgars are also Indian clubs?
I would say that, yeah. No, I mean, I think the mudgar and the jori and the mule are sort of the grandparents of Indian clubs, because the Indian clubs.
But you would. So you would make a difference in naming them. It's not just.
There is, and I mean, especially if you go down south and have a look at some of the clubs that are there that are more like a sort of a cylindrical shape.
Yeah.
They don't, to my mind, I still question the reality of those clubs because of one very, very important thing. And I'll take this one here. The meal in its own right, narrow shoulder, wide base. It fits into the body here, from here. So I mean, I can hold it close to my waist, shoulders are set back here. Now, if the meal goes to the back here, it's in reverse. The narrow shoulder has to miss my shoulder blade, and the base of the meal fits into the small of my back. So the design of this club is really much more superior to my way of thinking than to the barrel-shaped clubs.
Like the jori, these ones.
Well, to a certain degree, like the jori, but I mean, this jori here is a copy of the nail jori, but without the nails.
Right.
That's the first one that I thought that I could swing on my own. So that's that's my idea of making that one. Sure. Then, I mean, some of the going back to the jori styles, there are thin jori, which are much easier to hold onto the shoulder because they have this cone shape.
Yeah, they start very, very
and then as they get bigger and bigger, you have to really, all the athletes hold their shoulders out like this to create the dip in the top of the shoulder to hold the jori in place.
So would you say that there are then around 4 different styles of clubs? Like in general, you have the Indian clubs or light clubs, and then you have the mudgars, which are the clubs, and the mules, and then the joris. Or would you say that there are more different styles of clubs?
Well, there's also Karalakatai. If you go down south, I mean, there's 5 styles of Karalakatai that I'm aware of. And apparently each one of those clubs breaks down into and was used by farmers or different type of work on the earth. You know, in farming terms, each style of club was designed for a specific worker to train with.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no, that is for sure. But I mean, you know, if you go back to say the mudgar, I mean, this is very, very similar really to a meal, and it's swung in a very similar sort of way.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, there's no. I mean, it's
They
just.
have this train where they kind of keep it here in the back.
Yes. So I mean, you're talking about this.
This one.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
You won't see this in Persia.
No.
No.
No. No.
Oh,
No.
that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, you can also swing. I mean, I don't think I dare do it here, but you can swing it so that the
Straight
clubs actually go into a sort of helicopter type swing, so that they're going round like this. You can swing them. I've done it a few times, sort of out in the wild. But
Out in the wild, yeah, exactly.
Not in here,
No.
because it's just a bit too risky.
Always dazzled by the seeming complexity of light club swinging? Light Clubs 101 will bring an end to that. In Light Clubs 101, you will learn the absolute fundamentals of light club swinging, also known as Indian clubs. You will learn how to distinguish between crossing and parallel swinging directions. Light Clubs 101 will go further than just teaching you the swings. It will also teach you how to fluidly transition between exercises and also swinging directions. I believe this course is perfect to understand and master the absolute fundamentals of light club swinging and will open up the world of light clubs to you. Will I see you on the other side? Join now on DutchFlowAcademy.com. Boom! Thank you for your attention. It's greatly appreciated. If you like the content, please consider to share, like, and subscribe to my channel. If you want to see similar videos, you can see them over here. If you're interested in learning more from me as a coach, I've got online courses on DutchFlowAcademy.com. Keep flowing. Ram Ram.